Welcome to Internet Anytime number 15, I think. I hope I'm right on that. Do you think I'm right?
I thought it was like 14, but
You thought it was 14?
15,
Well, we
yeah.
have to. It'll turn out what it turns out. But you think last time with Jasmine we were doing 13?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so welcome to Internet Anytime 14. Sweet. So it's been snowing in Texas.
Oh, it's been crazy in Texas. Like everyone's pipes are bursting, like their pools are freezing. Yeah, it's been crazy.
You saw somebody's
They're
pool.
melting.
You saw somebody's pool
Yeah,
froze.
all these people were posting pictures like standing on top of their pools because it was like frozen solid.
That's crazy because I thought pools, people obviously in cold areas have pools and they don't necessarily drain them every winter, do they? Because like doesn't chlorine and other chemicals you put in there keep it from freezing?
No, people drain their pools over the summer.
Or winter, you mean?
Yeah, over the winter.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember when I was living in the mid. Not that I knew a ton of people with pools when I was living in cold weather areas, because they're not that many people have them if you really think about it.
No, some people have like those above ground pools. I'll see more of those, but not many people have the in ground
Yeah,
fancy pools because it's cold so much of the year you can't use it.
right. But I mean,
But
that goes for so much of the world and people still live in the freaking cold. I was thinking about how, well, it wasn't even that cold in Texas. Like I was looking at the weather and at the same time, like up in Minnesota, it was like minus 17 and just snowing.
ooh,
Like in Texas, I mean, it got cold, but it was like what, like freezing temperatures, like 32 degrees. I meant minus 17.
that's it was it was like 32. I thought it was like below zero from the pictures.
I don't think it was.
Well, it had to at least be cold enough to freeze, which is okay. That's still cold. That's still
Right. It's
pretty
cold enough to snow. Freezing. I've been using all my weather apps and stuff in Celsius degrees just to like
cold.
get used to it and
Fancy.
yeah, I feel like I understand like that's the system well because like when you go to places that only use that, it gets confusing. But then now when I communicate, like it's all over the place. When I communicate about degrees, which I'm doing all the time.
Oh, fancy weather guy.
But I was thinking more about the fact how we had, lived a lot of our lives in cold weather areas and how well prepared those places are for cold weather. And when a place like Texas isn't, it's just like disaster, like total disaster.
Yes, like all these apartment buildings, like all they have to complete get new pipes, new flooring because all the pipes burst. But it's like from Michigan, like oh, that's just a way of life. Like if you don't keep it warm, your pipes are going to freeze. They're going to burst, and it's going to be a disaster. That's
Well,
just
also the walls are, we have different, in Michigan, there's different laws about like how thick and insulated walls need to be in living spaces, like,
oh,
yeah, here in Los Angeles, actually, most of our walls don't have that fiberglass insulation in it that is in like every
really?
house. Yeah. And here when you see that stuff, they actually call it soundproofing. They don't even call it insulation.
Well, we need some of that because I know I definitely use some soundproofing over here as well as insulation.
Right.
Well, that would explain why you can hear everything that's happening in like the apartment next door. They don't have any insulation, aka soundproofing.
Right. Next time you go by like a construction site in your neighborhood and you see them building like a anything, you'll notice how that stuff isn't there. Like they just have it's just wood and maybe concrete or whatever, but yeah, they're
Wow.
not
Well, when
stuffing
I
the
have
wall.
my house built, I'm going to make sure we get the insulation.
Well, it would be good preparation because apparently, I mean, with the global climate change, we may see some crazy winters here in LA at some point as well. I mean, probably.
No, it was snow. They had snow slash ice in Malibu.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
There were pictures of like I guess it was like hail slash slush or whatever that fell on the roads in Malibu. It's like almost instantly melted, but it was there and it was like slushy. Back when it was like raining here and like super, well, not super cold, but LA cold.
Right. Our winter, quote unquote.
And I don't want it to get any colder than what it is now. I like it to be hot. That's
Well,
why I moved here.
Well, winter's kind of over, I feel like, right? I mean, usually, like, the worst is behind us, and now there's been some kind of warmer days. And even at night, it sort of cools down, but I've noticed, like, I'm not rushing to shut my windows or anything. I mean, I might be in some
Yeah.
sweats, but
It's definitely it's definitely getting a little bit warmer, but the crazy thing is this is supposed to be the wet season. February is supposed to be the wettest month of the year for LA. And as you've seen, it's rained like twice.
uh-huh.
So I was reading this article this morning how they're really concerned because we had really good rainfall last year and we need to actually keep that up to prevent us from going back into a very serious drought.
Gotcha. Well, I doubt that's going to happen. I mean, it seems like we're just going to go into a drought again soon, and it's going to be even longer than the one we just came out of. Um, we did have that winter, it was, I think, 2017 to 18, where it just rained a lot. It was like raining for days at a time.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was nice. I don't mind the rain. Like I can stay inside and read a book and just get cozy.
People in LA definitely. It seems to rain a lot on the weekend here, which doesn't really affect my life, but like for everybody else working normal jobs, it does. And I've seen so many LA people, like, it's just drizzling the slightest bit, and they're just so sad. They're just like, I can't believe it's raining today.
I know. And it's like, come on. It's sunny like 362 days out of the year.
Mhm.
Let it rain a couple times, feed the grass. Just and then they don't know how to drive in it. It's everyone's like driving super slow because it's the drizzle. Like,
Mhm.
come on, people. It's not that serious. Relax. Little rain is good for you. Little
Totally.
mist.
Totally. It makes you think too, like, if it did snow here, or if it got wintry the way it just did in Texas, I mean, it'd be really fucked. It'd be a shit show. I mean, the 80,000 homeless
I
people, where are you gonna, yeah, and also
yeah,
too the roads, like, nobody's equipped. We're not
I
insulated.
wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go anywhere because people wouldn't know how to drive. I imagine people would be crazily stocking up on stuff. The homeless people, there's nowhere. I know right now they're doing the tiny homes, like in downtown LA, they're building these tiny homes. And they also are building these shipping crate housing that have heat and have air conditioning and windows and beds, which is good, but they're going to house like a few hundred people compared to like the thousands of homeless people. So yeah, we LA is not equipped for something like that. Not to mention the pipes and the lack of proofing.
Yeah, the pipes. Um, I didn't see that they were building like little shelters in downtown LA. That's cool. That's good.
They are. And they're gonna, there's gonna be a curfew that the people have to be back by a certain time, but there's gonna be job programs, drug abuse, substance abuse programs. We're gonna really try to help these people get back on their feet. They say that it's not supposed to be long term, it's supposed to be like a stepping stone to help the people get home,
Hmm.
but it's better than nothing. It's better than people just being in tests on the side of the road. Because now they'll have a door, an actual door that they can lock. And they said that's a big step to make people feel safer. Like, okay, this is your home. This is your space. If it's hot, you can be cool. If it's cool, you can be warm,
Hmm.
and it's yours. So we'll see. Hopefully, that's a good step to helping fight the homeless problem in LA.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, I do see it getting better. When I was growing up here in the 80s, it was awful. There was homeless people everywhere, and they definitely changed that. and clean it up at some point. I don't know what they did, but something improved. And LA does make improvements and changes. I remember growing up here, and even in the '90s, there wasn't a tree anywhere. There was no greenery anywhere. I moved to Minnesota, and I was like, there can be trees not in the forest. Like I had no
Wow.
idea. Yeah, they planted so much stuff in the last 20 years. Um,
I didn't know that. I
yeah,
thought like even how it is now isn't enough greenery.
no, it's like way more, and they have like before and after maps too. But it's helped with the
So
air
like
pollution as well. Like in the '90s is when the air quality was the worst.
homelessness and air quality, I didn't know all that. I thought now the homelessness was like
Now the
worse,
homelessness is
but
the worst. Yeah, now the homeless numbers are the worst. Yes, that's true.
okay.
There was not this quantity. The air pollution was at its worst in the '90s because they weren't
Okay.
doing anything about it and it was unregulated. Not that it's great right now or anything like that, but it's definitely there has been an improvement as far as that goes in this city.
Yeah, at least you do have to take a smog test, but I do see a lot of cars, especially like older cars, and it'll be like all this smog coming from it. And I'm like, this car is not passing the smog test. Like, who's out here like, hey, let me see your smog test results. Are these people actually getting pulled over for that? Or
Well, you can't get your registration, but it's different. If you have a classic car or if you have a certain age car, the rules are different.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And actually, you don't have to get a smog test if your car is newer than like a 2012, I think, or 13, or maybe 15. I can't remember the year.
I didn't have to get a smog test with my car, and it's a 2014.
You do or you don't?
I did not.
You did not, okay. And I do, and I'm a 2012. So it's like
Okay.
right around there. Um, but you will soon because I think it's like 6 or 7 years old or something, and then
Oh, okay.
but whatever. I think they had smog checks then as well, but they probably weren't as. I mean, cars just emitted more stuff in the '90s, obviously, and got worse gas mileage.
Yeah, and you could see it too. You just like is gray black smoke coming out of all the cars. Now you can see you can if you're like around a lot of cars, you can smell it, but you're not like in a cloud of exhaust.
Something else about those Texas snowstorms is that you read those sad stories about people dying because they ran their car in their garage or ran some generator in their home and stuff.
I did
Um,
not read that. I was reading it was saying how so many people had generators and that was good because it saved a lot of families. I didn't read anything about it was bad because the exhaust got them. So they had the generators inside and the exhaust from the generator suffocated the people.
so that happened in the generator thing happened in a different snowstorm that happened in part of the country. In this Texas one, I read an article about a family that used their car to warm up the house. I think what they did is they, had the door open to their garage or something, left their car running, and it was a family of four, and half of them died. Like a mom and a child died, and a dad and another child survived. Uh, but the thing is, to be honest, is that they should educate people in school, and there should be. I don't think it's common sense to people that you can't run your car in a closed space and that it's going to be deadly. I don't think that's clear to like just anybody. You're taught that by your parents or somebody, or maybe you even made a mistake as a teenager by pulling your car into your garage and not shutting it off, and your parents are like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know? But like,
Honestly, I don't think I learned it from like my parents or anything, but I remember in movies they were always talking about people were using that as a way to commit suicide. People were like,
uh
"Oh, he was running his car in the garage and he killed himself that way," or someone took a hose from the tailpipe and put it into the window of the car and they killed themselves that way. So it's just like that was happening so much in movies that I saw growing up. I just knew you run a car in a garage, that's how you kill yourself.
mhm.
Tidbit side note, I was reading one story of a guy catching his spouse cheating. He caught his wife cheating and she actually had the car running, and she was cheating in the garage with the handyman that was supposed to be fixing her car.
Mm.
And when he came in, he caught them. She was like, they were entwined with their clothes off. Not only did he catch them cheating, but he also saved their lives because they they had passed out from breathing in the car fumes. So he had to take
That's
them to,
funny.
like, he had to call 911. But yeah, he caught his wife cheating. But it was just like a very kind of funny but unfortunate situation. Like they didn't think like the people who let the house get heated up by their car. People, like you say, they're not, I guess, taught that. It's not common sense for everyone that if the garage is closed, you're breathing in exhaust and it's
Mhm.
deadly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on a dark note, as I was thinking about these poor people, and then this, you've seen the suicide thing, of course, in movies or whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
hear about that on the news as well. That would be the way to kill yourself because it seems like not painful, like you just pass out.
What? I
People,
like
and easy too.
hypothermia, you just pass out too, but I don't know. I
I
feel
mean,
like maybe if you were already sleeping, if you're already asleep, but yeah, it still seems kind of bleak. We can't really ask the people how it was.
well, they just pass out and then they, stop breathing. I mean, how painful. I mean, compared to like a gunshot to the face or jumping off a bridge, or it's like something like that, like seems
Yeah,
way
okay.
better.
Yeah, compared to those, it's not as bad. So I feel like jumping off a bridge is pretty, because like they say that you like break every bone in your body
I
when
know.
if you jump from high enough, because like the water, when you hit the water, it's like a solid surface when you first hit,
Right.
and then you're in water and you can't move because your bones are broken and you drown. I'm like, that'd be the worst way to
Yeah,
die.
it sounds horrible.
Why would you choose that? Don't
Yeah.
choose that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't choose that. And yeah, it seems well a lot of people do choose that, obviously, um and a lot of people survive that too. Uh
Yes, because it's not high. It's not that high. Not that high.
well, you can, if you hit the water like straight like a pike, then you're probably
Yes,
surviving. Like you can
yeah.
almost do
It's
that.
not as bad.
Right. You might
If
break
you're
your ankle or
pancaking.
leg. Right, you're pancaking face first or back or whatever. Then yeah, your body will. Also, I think I saw something where it depends on how tense. Like if your body's super tense, then that's when you like break and die and stuff. But if your body's like
Uh-huh.
super relaxed, like if you're passed out, then your body's so super relaxed, then you're less likely to die because your body like takes the hit better when it's like that. Same
Oh,
in
so if you
same
like,
in car accident.
I've heard that for car accidents, which is hard though, because you're a car accident, you're like, oh shoot, we're gonna die.
Right. How are you like of course you're like tensing up and like you can't be like, all right, I'm
No one's like, let's just see what happens to the car. Like, no. Like in what was it? The Hangover. The guy fell asleep and they got into that car accident, and he was like, "Oh, well, me being asleep actually saved our lives because I didn't die and you were already asleep, so we lived."
Ugh.
Apparently, that's how it's not what you want. Have you been reading this about Ted Cruz being on his nice Mexican vacation
Totally.
while all this stuff was happening in Texas?
I mean, they keep electing the
I mean,
guy, so I don't really know. It's
I mean, it's like, are you surprised? Has he shown that he's a man of the people? He's gonna
right,
stick in the trenches with you? No.
right, and people like that. It just puzzles me how, his supporters are these redneck types, or whatever. The dude went to Princeton. He's clearly like an elite rich guy who rags on other, rags on other
Mm-hmm.
elites like they're doing something wrong or they're the bad guy. It's like, dude, you're one of them. People like him make me
Exactly.
feel like I'm living in a simulation for sure, because he's such a caricature and a cartoon of a politician. You know, like everything about the way he looks and acts and talks.
People like that. It's like so hard for me to believe that when he says stuff and he's clearly not telling the truth to you people, and he's doing one thing that's completely different from what he is saying, people are still going to believe him. And I'm like, but he's shown you that he is not going to act in your best interest. He's shown you that. But
Mm-hmm.
he says that he's going to help you out this time. And you're like, I might do it. Let's vote for him. Like, seriously? Vote for someone else. Like, we'll
Did you see
see.
the text messages that
Okay.
his wife sent? Like,
No, what
that's
did his
how they
wife
found
say?
out. So his wife sent out, like, to this group chat, like, hey, we're getting out of here, you know, going to Cancun. Who wants to come? Here's a link to the hotels, nah, nah, nah. And then one of the people in that group chat sent that to the New York Times. And that's how they found out about
Ah,
it. Yeah, that in combination with somebody took a
that's
picture of him at
messy.
the airport. So yes, like somebody in their friend group like sold them out to the New York Times.
They're
And
like, hey, we're going to get some money.
yeah, and what's she thinking
That's
too? As
how.
like the senator's, you know, wife, you know, they're public figures, and it's like, oh, really? You think that this is okay? Like, just sit it out like everybody else, especially you. Like, you have a mansion house.
Yes.
Their heat and stuff is, you know, I'm sure they're gonna be fine.
Yes, they just have like the maid making sure the heat stays on so the pipes don't burst.
Yeah, something.
Some pina coladas in our life. I'm sorry. But that's funny that she sent it out in a group chat, like just, hey, who wants to come to Cancun this weekend? Book your ticket, we're going. Like,
Let's pull
like
up her.
no, at least in the individual text. At least in the individual text.
I mean, you kind of so honestly, her texts are pretty. They're pretty like bland. You know, there's nothing juicy about them, and so you kind of got a feel for her because she's literally just like if they're kind of innocent,
Uh-huh.
you know. But I'm looking.
But
I'm
that
trying to find her specific texts.
but she's just a nice, sweet senator's wife.
Well,
And
that's not
just
true
wanting to
either.
enjoy her time in Cancun.
That's not true. She's not. Sure she's the worst.
No one's innocent. Dun dun dun. Still guilty by association. But I mean, I can't blame them for wanting to go to Cancun, especially looking at those pictures. But it's like you're supposed to be
Yeah.
here helping out the people. When
Is
stuff
everyone
gets
warm?
rough,
That's a must. We could all huddle in one house. Blank had heat. Anyone can or want to leave for the week? We made it go to Cancun. There is a direct flight at 4:45 p.m. and hotels with capacity. Seriously, COVID test to come back, which we will take there. We're coming back to our house, and then there's a response. We're coming back to our house. Blah blah. And then she sends another text with just like the flight info, and then Ritz Carlton Cancun 309 a night plus tax. Um,
okay.
so
I
they're
hope it
like
was all inclusive.
probably. I mean, no, it's just at the Ritz Carlton. That's not all inclusive. That's just a hotel in Cancun.
Dang. At
Yeah,
least you could have gone to the all inclusive, so I'd feel like, okay, that makes sense.
those people don't care. They don't want. They're not going to the all inclusive.
They don't care. They're like, I don't want to have to rub hobnob with the regular people. I'll choose my own drink. It's fine. The taxpayers can afford it. This is a business trip.
Right, because the thing is that's who's paying for it is the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm. They're like,
Um,
oh, this is a cultural exchange program between Texas and Cancun.
I'm not. I flew into Cancun once. I went to Tulum once, and Playa
Okay.
del Carmen. My sister or my cousin got married at an all-inclusive place, not far from Playa del Carmen, pretty much near Cancun, and it was
How
awesome.
was it?
It was awesome. I didn't stay at the all-inclusive place because it was like super expensive, and I was planning on going. I had like bought tickets with my girlfriend at the time, who didn't end up going because we broke up. But we had like this hotel outside of the all inclusive, and so I stayed there. It was like in the town of Playa del Carmen, and it was gorgeous. It was awesome. And then I had an
That's
Airbnb
nice.
in Tulum for a few days, and that was awesome as well.
That's nice.
Yeah, the beaches are
See, I've been talking
beautiful.
about. I want to go to all inclusive in Cancun this summer. Cause yeah, I feel like I want to just kind of get away from LA and just sit on the beach and sip margaritas. We I've been to this one all-inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic a few times that I really, really, really love. I'm like, I do like just being able to be at the hotel and just go, and you don't have to like pay everywhere. You can just go wherever you want, order whatever you want to drink or eat, and it's just like here's the menu, whatever you want is included.
Right. And you don't the only thing with that is that it's like that's what it is. Like then usually you don't go out into the town much or see much of the thing. But yeah, that's like the point of your vacation is to like have a beach time. And it is nice when you don't have to you can just order anything off the menu and it just comes and you don't have to think about like, oh, this costs $20 or this costs this or whatever. You're just like another tequila.
You don't have to have
Another
your wallet. You know,
yeah,
you
you don't
you
have to have your
can
wallet.
you can tip the people if you want to, but they keep track of like all the different stuff that you did, and you can just pay the tip for everyone that you had at the end,
Hmm.
which is
Right.
like okay, yeah. And then like the same people are serving you every day, so it's not like oh was it Tom this day? No, you're like it's the same people every day, and you're like I want to tip them this much, and you just do that. And but this is like I say I like the all inclusive for when I'm just trying to like sit on the beach and just chill.
Yeah.
Not for like if you are trying to explore the local area, then yeah, it's kind of separate. It doesn't really they have excursions, but it doesn't really like, oh yeah, you should really go and explore the place. It's like its own little bubble. Especially now, I wouldn't mind being in my own little bubble because I'm not really trying to be amongst too many people.
Hmm.
But if I could just not too many people just sitting on a beach, I'm okay with that.
How much? What do
A
you remember
margarita.
approximately like the nightly charge of that Dominican Republic place?
It was like two something.
A night?
It was yeah, it was a pretty good deal. We got a good deal. I learned that if you actually call the hotel or like talk to a concierge at the hotel, you can get a good deal
Hmm.
because they'll have their own like 30% off or whatever that they're doing that isn't listed on like hotels.com or whatever else, which is very helpful. Every bit counts. But yeah, went, had a great time. And you can even get like a package that includes your flight. I
Right.
recommend a nice international airline. I find that the international airlines are a lot better because they'll like still have free drinks included. They'll still have multiple meals.
Right.
Like the flight from like Dominican Republic to LA, we got served two meals. But when I did that same flight with like United, it was just like, here's your cookies.
Hmm.
And the prices are like relatively the same.
Yeah, the
So yeah, I'm
American
ready.
carriers are the worst by far. United, American, it's just trash. I flew on British
It's kind of
Airways and it was freaking
uh-huh.
amazing. It was like just the amount of food and booze. I was flying from LA to Europe, and I think it was like to London, and I just had
Hmm.
a layover there. I think was where when I did the British Airways. Yeah, and it was just I mean it was just so glorious, and I know on the international flights like even like United and stuff they'll give you free alcohol usually if you're going to Europe. You can keep ringing the bell. They'll keep bringing it to you, but they don't have like good snacks. They don't have nice food. This British Airways had like a couple meals, like almost more than I wanted.
Yeah,
Which is nice.
which is nice. It's like, oh, I feel like you're actually trying to make sure I'm full and I'm taken care of and I'm comfortable instead of just like, all right, 6 hours in, here's some cookies.
Right. And like the
What?
thing is those meals
Yeah,
for them cost like, nothing. Just I wouldn't even if your ticket costs $5 more and it means that you get like some extra amenity, like if they actually, you know, upped your cost what the actual cost was instead of being like, oh, we're giving you a meal, so now we got to charge an extra $200 for it or whatever kind of attitude. I would pay a little extra for extra stuff. Is what I'm saying. A little extra. You totally froze. Um, Now you're kind of coming back.
how they'll give you food that's like the local food of wherever you're going.
Yeah, I've been on a flight like that too before.
I like that. And it's like, oh, you're going to, yeah, flying to the UK, they'll try to be like British type food, or you're going to like China, they'll try to give you like Chinese food. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And most of the time, it's pretty decent.
Hmm.
It'll fill you up at least, and it'll be pretty okay. It's better than nothing. And it's a hot meal. Just don't sleep through it. And then I've had times where like I did sleep through, and then like I woke up, I'm like, oh, I missed the meal, and then the flight attendant be like, oh, okay, well, what would you like? I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
they'll always give it. I mean, they're never going to be like, "Oh, you missed it. Too bad." Unless you're like landing. But
too bad.
they've never been that way. Like they'll give it to you.
That's so kind of them. It's like I was just taking a little siesta. I do like it when they give you like the snacks in between. Like, give me a bun, a croissant, a
Right.
little butter. Oh, I think I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, those international flights, they'll just have like a basket of bread.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like now because like they probably don't want you really eating on the flight.
Right. They were saying, well, I'm sure it's starting to loosen up, but before they weren't giving anything. Like you couldn't buy anything. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
man, what was it? Who was I with? I feel like it was Delta, but they had a snacks pack and this is going across America, going across the country.
Hmm.
And they had, I always make sure I carry my snacks, okay? But they had this thing called a snack pack, which was basically like an adult lunchable,
Hmm.
like uh, like Ritz crackers, some cheese, and like
Hmm.
some hard salami, and then like a few grapes in it.
Hmm.
So like an adult lunchable. And this thing on adult lunchable had the nerve to be $15.
Uh-huh.
And the lady next to me, she like, oh, she got one because I'm sitting here and I'm eating my food. I'm coming from Michigan, and they always send me back with some food. So I had a whole Chinese food dinner. I'm sitting there eating my food, and the lady, I guess she was hungry. She was like, what do you have? And they had like some chips, some crackers, and then they're like, and we also have this snack pack. And she's like, I'll have that. And then she paid, and then they brought her the snack pack, which is just like
Uh-huh. Not very good.
slightly larger than a lunchable. And it looked like an adult lunchable. I'm like, y'all have the nerve to charge $15 for this $2 lunchable
Sad.
just
Um,
because you're held hostage in the sky and you're hungry.
were you flying here?
Yeah, I was flying to LA from Michigan.
Uh, did you didn't really travel like since COVID has hit? You haven't flown anywhere, have you?
I have not flown anywhere. I'm actually getting ready to do my first flight. But yeah, I haven't really flown. I haven't flown at all since COVID started.
I took that trip to Minnesota, and it was everything. The airport was awesome, but the flight itself was like a little too crammed. I thought. I mean, it is what it is. And then there's obviously people who just like were not wearing their mask properly. I was like, how? It's COVID not spreading on planes, and it probably is, but like the airlines like don't have to release that information.
Wow, that is crazy. That
Yeah.
is crazy. And then they can just be like, oh, well, she tested positive 4 days after the flight, but we don't know if she got that from where she came from or where she went. You can't say it was us because not, what if not everyone gets tested when they get home? or they're asymptomatic, so they don't feel like they need to get tested. So
Right.
that kind of sucks. Cause yeah, that's my problem. A flight being overcrowded, and then people on the flight not wearing a mask properly. I know my friend said she took one flight, and the lady that was in the aisle across from her just was taking her mask off. Like the
Hmm.
flight attendant isn't over here. She was just taking her mask off. And then she had like her two kids with her, and they were just like, mask just down here. And she just was like looking at the lady, but like, you don't want to start a whole mask debate on the flight.
Right. That's where it's not gonna go well. Like somebody who's not wearing their mask on the stupid plane is not gonna just be like, oh, okay, sorry. You know what I mean?
No,
They're like giving a big fuck you to everybody. There
like
are people, if somebody is like wearing it down here, then sometimes they don't notice or they forget, and I've seen people like point that out and they're like, oh, sorry, like if they're already wearing it. But people who are just like, no. But I mean, you have to wear them to get on the plane, obviously, but I'm sure that on some certain planes, the flight attendants just don't want to fight or whoever, just like you're saying, that people don't want conflict.
yeah, I was reading an article, and the flight attendants are saying that now the main thing that they're spending their time doing is policing people about masks.
Right.
People are angry because they don't want to put their mask on, and then other people are like, hey, this, people complaining like, hey, he took his mask off, and then like as soon as she's there, he puts it on, and then they walk away, and maybe he takes it off again, or they're just like, I'm not putting it back on. I'm an American citizen. Like, okay, we're gonna land the plane because of you.
Right.
It's just like such a hassle. And they're like, we are just trying to do our job.
And not that that many planes are being landed because of it. I mean, you hear about it in the news like pretty frequently, but still, that's like one plane out of thousands that are flying daily. But even that is just like an added stress in your head, like when you're going to travel. Like, is there going to be some garbage human on my plane that forces some garbage stuff to happen, that totally screws up whatever travel you're trying to do right there,
Yeah.
It's like, is it even worth it?
And you're like, how do I know that that guy won't be sitting next to me? Like, you don't know who's going to be sitting next to you unless you're like flying with a couple of people. So you're like, okay, we booked up this whole aisle. Like that guy might be sitting in front of you or sitting right behind you, breathing on your neck without his mask on. And
Right.
you're just like unknowingly in his cloud of COVID. Oh, that's why I haven't been flying. I'm like, it's like all this stresses. I just don't even want to deal with it. But I'm like, I kind of want to just go back home for a little bit, and the flights are cheap. And I'm gonna fly with someone that still skips the middle seat.
Mm-hmm.
So, because yeah, I know someone that flew on Spirit, and they were like, the whole flight was booked,
Mm-hmm.
packed, everybody packed in there, and like a lot of people weren't even properly wearing their masks, like, and people were taking them off. And on Spirit, apparently they don't police. The flight attendant is not telling anybody to put their mask back on.
Gotcha. I can't remember what we flew. It wasn't Spirit.
Good.
I like Spirit generally. I'm not a Spirit
Really?
hater. Yeah, Spirit's always done me right. Like I've gotten such cheap flights, and to me, it's just like any other airline. The seats are the same, the amenities are the same. Like you have to pay for a bag on every airline if you want to bring a bag, pretty much. Or if you have to buy a bag, then it makes it like more equal to what another flight would be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think they get a bad rap. I actually think their deals on the plane for like being able to purchase snacks and stuff, I think they have good deals. I think that they're the best priced airline as far as that goes. Um,
Maybe it's like depending on where you're flying out of, but I've had too many instances where the people were rude, the plane was dirty, mostly the
uh,
people being extremely rude,
really.
like just like rude, like the people when you're checking in, the people on the flight, just like nasty rude, like what you gonna do with that bag? Your bag is too big. Uh, are you gonna eat all those snacks? You can't bring all those snacks. It's just like, what? Why? Like, why are you just being so rude? And then like, I had this terrible occurrence where like they canceled our flight. It was like 11 p.m. They canceled the first. They delayed it a bunch, and then they canceled it. And then they were like, I don't know what you guys want us to do. The flight's canceled. Find another way to get there. And we're just like, what?
Oh,
What?
I'm sure I've gotten a little bit lucky because obviously there's a lot of stories like this from them. But yeah, and I flew them a ton because I was going back and forth between Minneapolis and LA for a while, like almost every month or other month. And
Wow.
I was flying for like sometimes as low as like $50 round trip. I want to say that I even scored $40 once, and I did like $60 a bunch of times.
What? Okay, I get why you still have a love affair with Spirit. If you get a $50 round trip flight, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't have fares that low anymore. But in like the 5 years ago, like in 2014, 15, 16, 17, yeah, between that flight, sometimes I was in the $9 fare club too, which helped me a little bit at times. But even then, even like that wasn't helping me that much. There's always like $63, $72. Anyway, so yeah, that's why I like them. And so it was that cheap. And sometimes I'd fly to Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
or we fly out of Vegas and like leave our car there for a couple days or something, because you just leave it in like casino parking lot, nobody in the big casinos.
Mm-hmm.
In Las Vegas one time, you can walk from the airport to like the strip. It takes like 25 minutes. Like you don't need a cab or anything.
Really?
Yeah, and I found like this weird secret path. Like I followed some airport worker, and like I was like, oh my god, I'm taking these like local dirt paths. And yeah, because you can see it's just across the freeway. You can see the strip
Mm-hmm.
from the airport or whatever. So it's just not that far. And I had like a pretty long layover, and I was poor, so I couldn't afford like a Uber both ways. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just walk there. And yeah, like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, I was like on the strip in the
That's
Hard
not bad
Rock.
at all. I've taken like the bus to the strip from the airport, and I've taken like Ubers and stuff. Never walked, but 25 minutes. That's like the bus ride. That's not bad at all. And plus, after a long or 45-minute flight, I wouldn't mind taking some steps anyway. So,
Yeah, it's a short.
pro tip, especially nowadays, I don't want to be in a confined space with other people. I'll take some steps.
If you don't have the luggage, that's like another thing too.
Yeah. Normally, I'm not. I would like to say one day I'm going to be someone that packs light, but that hasn't happened for me yet.
Uh-huh.
Like, I need options, especially like being a girl. You need to have like your hair curlers. You need your flat iron. You need shoe options,
Hmm.
bikini options, like clothes options. Like, okay, so what are you going to wear during the day? And then what are you going to wear to go out? Like, guys, they can just like change their shirt and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go out. Like, comb your hair. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's true. Women do a lot more maintenance
Yeah.
during their days.
And it's Vegas, so you need to have your makeup. You can't just be like, rise out of bed. All right, I'm ready to go.
Although I don't know, Vegas is one of those cities, sort of just like LA, where sure there's plenty of people walking around all glitzed out, but you can get away looking like anything. Like
Yeah.
you can wear no clothes and nobody's even gonna really blink at you because everybody's like freaking crazy.
Yeah, you don't have to wear much clothes, but like if you're gonna go to like a day party and you look like you just walked off the farm, you're gonna
That's
have
different.
to pay.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to pay. But if you and your friends just look like you walked out of a magazine spread, hey ladies, come on in. Then they're like charging the guys like $80 and you just got in for free and they have an open bar. Whoop 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 party time.
Yeah, that in those situations definitely works out. I'm lucky that I do have usually when I've gone to places like that. Not in Vegas. In Vegas, I haven't really ever been out to clubs or parties. Like I've just kind of hang around in crappy casinos.
What? Oh man,
Well,
Jacob.
because
Okay.
the booze is free. Like you go somewhere where it's free for you, and I go where it's free for me. Because I don't have the money to go into like a club like that and have a good
No. So if you get on the guest list to go to one of these parties and you get there before like a certain time, even the guys can get in for free.
Nice.
It's just like you just have to get on the guest list and then just don't show up. You know, kind of like here, if you show up at a club at midnight, you're gonna have to pay. But if you get there at like 10, just come on in. It's the same thing. But like, yeah, all you have to do for Vegas, if you come with not a lot of guys, of course, but get on the guest list and get there early. Everybody can get in. And then if I'm getting free drinks, I get one drink, give it to you, go back, get another drink for me. It all works out.
Thank you. Yeah, I never even really thought about partying in Las Vegas like that because I'm so like, I'm not even a gambler, but I'm just like enchanted by the strip and the blinking lights and like the casinos because that's unique to there. I mean, granted, casinos exist in other parts of the world, but just the way that they are there. So I just spend time like wandering, you know. But yeah, maybe next time that sounds fun. Yeah, just wandering around, enjoying the sights, like sitting at like a cheap slot machine and, getting a couple free drinks, then moving on and just people watching, kind of meeting people at the random casino bars. There's a couple like places in old Las Vegas that are like sort of these cool little kitschy bars. So those are cool to go into. But yeah, never like a raging club atmosphere. But maybe next time. Next time will be raging clubs, and I'll go to some magic shows or Britney Spears or something.
I will be down to go to some shows because I've never been to any shows. Like I would like to see like Cirque du Soleil or like Britney, but normally when I go to Vegas, I just party like all time, just day party, night party, day party, night party, day party, night party, sleep. Like that's it. Especially like the summertime pool parties. Like you're so tired from the day party. You're like, do I even want to go to this night party? And sometimes we don't even go to the night party. We just go get food and then like pass out so we could wake up and go to the day party the next day. But it's like, yeah, the day parties are like the best. And you can actually see people.
The pool situations in Las Vegas are amazing.
Yeah, they do have some nice ones. I like the ones Mandalay Bay has like that wave pool.
I've seen it. But yeah, the whole Mandalay Bay, Luxor. I like staying at the Luxor, the pyramid.
I've never stayed there. I've like walked around, but I've never stayed there.
I don't know why. I think one time I just ended up there. Like my friend had a free room, so I ended up staying there. And then since then, but you can get really cheap deals there. Like I found that in that strip area, for those types of places, the Luxor tends to be the cheapest.
Okay, I'll remember that. I went to what is it? The summer jams, or they have this concert. iHeartRadio has this concert. We went to this one concert. It was their daytime village, and it was like the most concerts I've ever had. Like it was just we left. I went with my sister and we left because it was just too long. And mind you, it's Vegas, so it's like 100 degrees. We had summer clothes on, so we weren't like super covered. And I had like a hat on, but it was hot, and we were standing. So like the concert started at like 10 a.m. and we left at like 5. And there were still like 3 more acts that had to perform. And I was just like, this is too much.
Yeah.
And we went to dinner, and it was just like, I didn't even regret leaving. And I'm like, I don't even regret leaving. This concert was too long. But it was like a lot of really good artists. And some people I hadn't even heard of before, but it was like, let me write this down because this person was so dope.
That's cool.
And yeah, that was at the Luxor. But like, ooh. That's one thing about Vegas. It's just so hot. You can't blame people for not wearing much clothing because it's just so hot. I miss the summer.
The music thing in Vegas, like of course there was the big shooting on the Country Music Festival, which I don't think was that an iHeartRadio thing too?
I don't know if it was. I don't really pay attention to the country stuff, but It may have been.
And the guy was shooting out of Mandalay Bay window. My friend actually works for a sound company, and I haven't talked to him about it, but his sound company was working that concert that day.
Wow, that's scary. That's so scary.
It is scary. I think I was there like not long after and saw like the window that he had shot out of, because Mandalay Bay, I mean, it's right there, and you could see that it was like boarded up and stuff like that. It's kind of makes it very real when you see it like that. But that was so real because we've all, we were just talking. Everybody's been to Mandalay Bay and that whole area. That's just
Yeah. When I went, it was not long after that, and yeah, the window was still like there. It was still like open. It was just like, whoa, that's crazy. And we were actually going to an event at Mandalay Bay, but it was just they're like, oh, that's over. They caught the guy. They had like really cheap rooms there for a little minute, but it was also like, I'm okay.
Yeah, that would have been the time to go. Yeah, I had been there. I was there like the week before, or like very shortly before that happened, for a couple nights, and stayed at this great little hotel, and also had a little casino in it that was like off the strip called Tuscany.
Okay.
You could walk there, but the prices on it were just so cheap. And me and my friend, we had just the room was gigantic. I mean, it was one giant room, but it was 2.5 rooms, and the bathroom was like as big as my current bedroom. And
I like those places that are like just off the strip, or like you walk 5 minutes and you're on the strip, but the rooms are so much cheaper. You get such a better deal on the room. It's bigger. And then you don't have to, I don't actually enjoy having to walk 30 minutes through a casino just to get outside. Like, yeah. I'm like, let me just walk outside. But like so many places, you're like, you gotta walk down the tower, through the middle, through to the front of the hotel, and then like, okay, and then you like look, you're like, it took me 20 minutes to get out of the hotel.
Yeah, that's true too. I didn't really think about it that way, but that is a huge thing. Like when you're staying at those places on the strip, they want to keep you in there because they want you to spend money. And in my Tuscany hotel, whatever, like our door opened to the outside.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. It's also easier to get to your car because it's right there. Mm-hmm. Whereas like at these other places, your car is like a half mile. Yeah. Like so far away. You can't keep anything in your car. You can't. I mean, you have a hotel room. It's not that you necessarily want to, but it's nice to just have easy access.
It is. And then you don't have to pay the, what is it, residency fee it's the fee, the resort fee.
Right.
Big hotels, you have to pay the resort fee. And it's like, I'm not even actually going to be hanging out at your pool. I'm going to somebody else's pool.
Right.
But I still have to pay this resort fee for the casino and the pool and all that other stuff.
Yeah, next time I go, I'm definitely going to go my first look at will be at the place I stayed at last time, because that was just killer. So I'm going to see what the prices are at the Tuscany.
I'll check it out. I'm here for a nice, decently priced Vegas hotel.
Dude, let's go let's go as soon as possible. Let's go.
I'm down. I'm so down. Let's get on guest list and I can show you a good old day party. We can dance.
That sounds sick. We can do a podcast episode from the Tuscany. Now that's an idea. All right, we're definitely that. That can be episode 24 in like 10 weeks.
24. We're about to hit this strip hard, people. Good time. I haven't been to a party, an actual in-person party, in like over a year now. This is now February. So like over a year.
In over a year, really? I mean, because you still got a month to go till we went into lockdown.
I got sick. I got bronchitis.
Oh yeah, possibly COVID. That's right.
Yeah, bronchitis. I don't know.
So you were sick at this time last year, like I was sick, exactly.
Because I got sick when I know for sure it was COVID when I was sick in January. I was sick for the last week of December, like right after Christmas, over New Year's, and then the first couple weeks in January. And then I felt like I got better. And then the beginning of February, like I started having like chest pains and I had like a cough. And I thought it was bronchitis, but then they're like, it didn't go away. And the doctor gave me the medicine. He was like, I don't know. It's possible you might have COVID. I think you should stay home.
Nice.
Because that was before they had the test, and then people were like, they're like, if these are your symptoms, you should not come into the office. You should stay home and away from people, including your doctor. I'm like, I thought that was a little questionable. Like, okay, but I get it. But like, okay, like you're the doctor. He was like, yeah. He gave me like some more bronchitis medicine. Was like, yeah, stay home and get rest.
Gotcha.
But I got better.
And when do you think you were like feeling better last year? Was it like around March 1st then? What date is it?
No, it was. I was still having the chest pains until like the end of April, May.
Oh wow.
Chest pains, yeah. Because it would just be like, it wasn't like I could, not like I was super active because we were in quarantine, but like I'd just be like doing something and not have just like, it just be feeling real sore inside. Just like, oh, right?
Huh. And have you ever had like bronchitis that bad before?
No.
I mean, all your symptoms sound so COVID-y, so.
That's why I was like
the lingering symptoms, you know, the breathing.
I was like, yeah, it was probably COVID, but it was like, you know, it was the beginning days when people
they had no tests.
Yeah, there was no test. And they were like, do you have a sore throat? Do you have a cough? Do you feel short of breath? And I was like, yes. How did you know? So don't come to the office. Stay home.
To the office? What office?
The doctor's office.
Oh, the doctor's office. I thought you meant like your work office.
He was like, no, not work. They're like, the doctor. The doctor had that question.
Oh, the doctor was like, don't come into the office. Yeah. And I think there's still like a little bit of that. Like, I don't know, you know, how easy it is to make a regular doctor's appointment now in LA. Although I should try.
I don't know. I had to make an appointment because it's about that time for my yearly checkup. Like I said, it's that time of year again. And yeah, I got to make another appointment. So we'll see. I know for the dentist office, I've been going to the dentist for my Invisalign. And they do give you that questionnaire like every time. Like, do you have a headache? Have you been more than 100 miles away from your home? Like, do you have a runny nose, a cough? When was your last COVID test? And like, you know, I get COVID tested pretty often. They're like, you've been COVID tested? Why? And I'm like, for my job. And they're like, because, you know, most people get COVID tested because they're like,
they have symptoms.
Some kind of symptoms or they've been exposed.
Right.
It's just for work and I'm negative. It's fine. But they're like real serious with their questionnaire and with their taking your temperature, which is like a little harder when it was hot. Because you get out of the car and yeah, the sun's beaming down on you and you're warm because it's hot outside. And they're like, your forehead is 100 degrees. And you're like,
right.
Because I'm a hot girl. What you gonna do?
Well, the people taking your temperature, I mean, that's a medical office, so it's a little different. But like these other places, I got booked to work on an ad, to act in an ad like in June, and they had a young woman, she must have been like 19 or so, taking our temperature. When we came there, like, you know, she'd just taken this thermometer out of the box, like has never used it before. I was running a little bit late, you know, lugging around wardrobe and stuff, so I get there and I was a little hot, like I was sweaty. It was warm in that day in June. It wasn't super hot, but it was warm enough. And I took my temperature before I went there. I was like doing it every day at that point because it was a little bit more of a paranoid time. And it was 97.8 is my normal temperature. So I get there, she takes my temperature and she's like, up 103 degrees. Guess you can't come in and work today. You know, no. And I was like, hold up. Like, my temperature is not 103. I just took it. Yeah. And she's like, well, I'll have to check, I guess. Just wait here, you know. And this wasn't like background. This was like, I have like a role in this ad.
What?
Yeah. So I'm like standing outside in the heat. Or like she did it again right away and it went down a little bit to like 101, but it was still, you know.
Higher.
So I'm like standing in the heat, you know, waiting. She goes inside to like find a producer or something. Finally they come back and do it again and it's not working. I'm like they didn't want to like let me in until like they had taken cleared my temperature, but I'm like, the only way this thermometer is going to work is if we go inside where it's like cool and shady.
At least be in the shade, yeah.
Right. So eventually we did that. My temperature was normal. Then, of course, the next actor comes because they staggered us and stuff. And overall, it was actually well organized. I don't mean to knock them. It was just like people trying to figure stuff out on the fly, like everybody was. But the next actor comes, and of course, she takes his temperature, and it's like some crazy number again. And I'm like, see, like it's the system we have going here.
People walking through the sun from their car, however far that is, and you're trying to be on time, and you're like booking it.
Right. And it's hot outside, so yeah. And if you're somebody who's just any tool that you use, like a thermometer, or if it's new and you haven't used it before, and you're somebody who's never even taken somebody's temperature before, maybe. Like you wouldn't realize that maybe this 103-degree temperature is like a little weird, or 104.
Because this guy looks normal. Just like take it again, especially a high reading like that. It was one meme where like the lady said that she was like the temperature taker person, and she had like taken this lady's temperature, and it was just like at an office job. And she had took the lady's temperature, and she was like, "Oh, that's odd, just a little high." And she said the lady went, "What'd you say? My temperature is 103 degrees. Okay, I guess I gotta go home." And then the lady just like took her stuff and like left, and she was like, "It only said that it was 99 degrees." Right. But like those kind of instances, they're not people like, my temperature is high, I get a free day off work. I get to go home. So people are like, let me, like probably doing like kid tricks, like put your head in front of the lamp. Right. I wish I could come into work today, but they took my temperature at the door and it was 102. What do you want me to do? I don't want to get people sick.
The head on the lamp thing is funny.
Oh, I saw that in like movies as a kid. Like people were like, "Mom, I'm sick," and then like, because mom does like the hand on
right, they just feel your forehead
before she walks in, just like put the lamp on your head. She's like, "Wow, you are warm."
That's funny. Yeah, I read that same story about the woman, or somebody's tweet saying that story, which is a pretty funny story, and I can totally picture it. If somebody wanted that, it was an Amazon worker, I think, maybe.
I don't know where they worked. I don't remember that part. But I was like, that's hilarious, but it makes sense. If you get it, you're like, I could get maybe even a paid day off if I just say my temperature is high. Guess what? I'm feeling real hot today. Especially don't let it be like a Friday and you're like, I don't know where you're going to come in anyway. Like, bye, y'all. But yeah, that lady definitely should have. I'm sure after going forward, she was like, okay, there's some room for improvement in this system.
Also, too, this protocol of like taking somebody's temperature or these like fake ass questionnaires, it's like, who's checking the box? It's like, yep, I have a fever. Yep, I have a cough. Oh, here's the. Oh, okay. I guess I will go home then. It's like.
Exactly. Like it's the questionnaires are really just like, you're just asking me to say probably so they don't have to get sued or something. Like, oh, did you guys ask this girl if she had a fever? And they're like, no, we didn't. They're like, you should have asked her. Because like if you really just wanted to work and you had a sore throat, you would just say no. And that's an issue. I know that's happened before. People have just said no, but really, yeah, this girl really did have a sore throat and she was kind of sick, but she wanted to work. And even I was at a studio lot the other day, and they were just like, the guy was just like, all right, did you see this questionnaire? Just say no. And I was like, did you tell me to just say no? So he was like, and it was like, he was like, did you see the questions? And it was like, he was like, all right, say no. And it was, he didn't really give me a time to look at the question.
He's rushing you to set.
So like, no, it was just like the security people. He was like, all right, say no, here's your badge. And I was just like, okay. I'm like, no, I don't have any of these. And then he's just like, okay.
The questionnaire was at the door. What studio was it? Can I ask that?
I won't say what studio.
You won't say what studio?
I want to say it was
Come on, say the studio. You don't have to say the show you were working on. Say the studio.
it's a studio in Culver City.
Yeah, I could see that it was probably Fox or Sony because those are the entrances. They have those type of entrances where that would like.
Yeah, they don't have just like you get in, you just walk in, and it's just like, and it already was like you had to walk through like the rope, just and it's like no one else is here. Like they're like the guy was like walk to the very end. I'm like, can I just like the table is here, I'm here. Can I just like take 2 steps over there instead of And they're like, no, you have to do the ropes. I'm like, now, by the time we get to the front, be hot.
Right.
But whatever, it's not my job. You guys get with this protocol.
Totally. Yeah, they don't want it. It's not like their fault. It's not the human's fault either. Like their place.
No, it's not that person because they didn't come up with it. They're just doing their job.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure they're not super pumped about it either. But yeah, the temperature taking and the thermometer checks are definitely useless. Totally useless, really.
Unless you like really are in the midst of your COVID flare up, like your day like 6 and you have a actual fever. But in that case, I feel like people, if they look at you, they probably tell. Unless I guess maybe you have good makeup skills and you're good at pretending.
Sure, and also too, like, I mean, if you are sick with COVID, how much motivation and like superhuman strength you need to muster up to like leave your house and go to work and get your wardrobe together. You know what I mean? Like
honestly, because like even when I was sick last January, I had barely enough strength to take a shower and like heat up soup.
Right.
Like I was not driving, definitely not driving anywhere, was not even walking anywhere, like outside of my apartment, getting clothes on, like none of that.
Right.
Having to do crosses, no, thank you.
Exactly.
You get sick days. I would take a sick day. Just take a sick day.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to. You just. I mean, even with normal sickness, it's extremely hard to function, and with COVID, it's hard. It's even worse, according to people. So.
Not everyone gets it the same. I feel like I had it in the beginning when maybe it was a little worse. I've talked to people that have had it like more recently, and they were like, okay, for like 2 weeks, I was like kind of sick.
I talked to people who had it recently, and they had it horribly. They had to go to the hospital.
Ooh, definitely don't want to go to the hospital. At least the numbers are going down.
Yes, and like my parents just got their second vaccination dose yesterday, so they're all vaccinated.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to go down and visit them soon.
Oh, that's good.
They can still be carriers, possibly. I mean, it's not like all 100% safe, but whatever. Nothing is.
Better. I didn't know they could still be carriers.
That's what the doctors told them. That they could possibly still be carriers. I mean, there's still a chance, obviously, even with the vaccine, that you can still get COVID. There's like a chance of that, right? Or some things like that. So.
Because there's new variations every other day.
Yes. And then some people get more sick from a lot of people has a little sickness from the vaccine. Some people get more sick. But so I guess they just don't know that much about the disease still, it seems like,
They're still figuring it out. And I was reading something that was saying that it takes 3 months for the vaccine to be completely effective.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, because like people were saying like, I just got vaccinated and a week later I got COVID. And they're like, it takes time. They're saying for some people it takes time for it to really be in effect. Maybe you have to build up antibodies and it takes some time for you to build those antibodies. But yeah.
And like everybody's different, like you're saying, for sure. I mean, if I got vaccinated tomorrow, I wouldn't look at that as like a free pass to just be able to do anything. Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's what some people have been doing. They're like, all right, y'all, we're having a house party at my house.
Right.
We've been vaccinated. Come on over. And it's like, no, that's still not a good idea. Not a good idea. Like, I guess I'll get vaccinated whenever it's time. My plant's dying.
Just right in front of your eyes right now. It's just like wilting.
And I see that it just is like starting to shoot. What can you do?
Yeah, I'll get vaccinated too when it's time. When when it's convenient and it's free, which
Are
it
you
will
gonna be
be.
a line jumper? Where it's like all these people are getting so much heat for being line jumpers. Like this lady that worked at Soul Cycle, they're like, she's a line jumper. She like all these people are like, oh, well, I got like a hookup. I got a friend that can get me a vaccine. I get a vaccine.
I mean, if there's like a thing where, like for instance, my friend's girlfriend, she is working at the where the LA Galaxy play in Carson. I can't remember the name of that stadium, but like that's a vaccination site where people are going, and so she's working there, doing whatever you do to work there. But at the end of the day, like they had some extra doses of the vaccine, so they like hooked some of the workers up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
I've
that's
heard of
awesome.
that. I've heard of that, and I've heard my one friend was saying how her cousin worked at a hospital where they were doing the vaccinations, and it was similar case where they're like, oh, we have some. If you guys have like a family member or a friend that's like over 60, if you know someone that's over 60, and they would like to come down, so they had the hospital workers had their parents and stuff come in to get the leftover vaccine. I'm like, that's
Gotcha. The funniest thing I saw, I can't remember what state it was in, but some women in their 20s dressed up as old ladies with the vaccine, and they actually made it through like the first round, so they got their first vaccination, and they got like busted when they went for the second dose. Was when they
what?
got
Are
busted.
you kidding? I feel like the people probably realized they weren't like old enough, but they're like, that's not my job. Whatever.
Right. Yeah, true. Again, it's just like fucking picking your battles. Gonna slow up this whole thing. There's thousands of people here. It's just like one fucking vaccine. Just freaking give
Exactly.
it to them.
It's like it takes so much longer to call this lady out. And if you feel like you need the vaccine so bad you're gonna dress up like someone's grandma, maybe you really need it. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right, Maud, here's your vaccine.
I know. It's just like why? Why? Like I do just why? you know. And we've all just been doing it this long. Like in the grand scheme of things, this like year of our life, if you live 10 years longer, it's a blink of an eye. Like you can't remember what the heck you were doing in 2014 unless you really think about it. Like what?
No.
I mean, it is a year. It's a long time. I'm not trying to totally cheapen it, but at the end of the day, it's like it really wasn't that crazy of a lockdown or quarantine. People blow it so much more up out of proportion. I mean, I really feel that for the most part, life didn't change that much, other than if you worked in a restaurant full time, or like if my life, like it was 10 years ago, was in the music business playing shows all the time, then yeah. But I think for most people,
Life has changed quite a bit because I mean, case in point, we're doing this over Zoom. I will say things have changed, not a crazy a lot, but things have changed, like wearing masks and keeping your distance and not having parties and social get-togethers and being more germ conscious.
mm,
But I can say that I can appreciate some of the ways that life has changed, like doing more things online, things that could have been online before but weren't. But it's like you should be able to do this online. I don't need to be have to go and fill out a form and pass it to you. I should be able to do this online. I can appreciate that a lot more things have become digitized. I
mm,
can appreciate uh yeah, having some time for yourself. Like
mm,
okay, yeah, it was crazy, the quarantine, but it was a chill, like, okay, let's step things back a little bit. Let's just relax for a minute. Just stay
mm.
home, read a book. Now that like things are getting to be picked back up and my schedule's going to be busier, I'm like, I can appreciate just being like, okay, no, I'm staying home and I'm gonna read this book because that's what the government wants us to do.
I truly, I mean, of course I want COVID to go away, but I'm not really looking forward to things just being, and they are going to just go back to pretty much normal. I mean, with the
Yeah.
exception of some of these things that we've changed, but those aren't really things that, I don't know. Life is going to feel pretty much the same, and I'm not looking forward to it for some reason. I've enjoyed this time.
Yeah, there have been some very enjoyable moments for the last year. I certainly miss concerts. You know whose concert I would love to get to. And I really miss concerts. I miss going to concerts, being in the crowd of people, screaming my head off, enjoying live music, and just like an amazing show. Even like small concerts where you're just like, oh my gosh, and you discover a new artist and you're just hearing it. You
Like
feel
Aaron
like,
Carter.
yeah, more than Aaron Carter, his opening that guy with the mermaid hair. That was a joy. That was just that was so fun. I don't know his name and I wish I remembered. I just remember him as Mermaid Hair Man, and he was so good. Aaron Carter played like the same 5 songs. He was like, "I got another one for you," and it was just like, it was like when you discover like the sound mixing board. That was what his music was like.
I see so much of him like on TV and in the press since we like when we saw him at that concert, that was like a low point and there was nobody at the show. There was literally 10 people there. We were 3 of them.
Like at least 150 to 100 people.
What? No way.
The crowd was full.
No, it was like as big as this rug I'm standing on and we were standing like this close to him. I mean,
that even still, okay, I'm going to say it was at least 50 people.
Okay, I'm going to say it was 15 people. Anyway, it seemed like that was pretty, like, lowish point for me, though he's coming out with a new record. But I hadn't really seen much of him in the press. And maybe it's because I wasn't paying attention to him before that show. And then after the show, I was more, like, in tune to the dude. But he was in the press a lot, and I saw him talking a lot. I don't know if you watched there was a documentary. There's been a few of them done, I think, but I just saw one recently about Lou Perlman, the Backstreet Boys manager and the NSYNC manager, and he also managed Aaron Carl. You know, Lou Perlman, he was the heavy-set, white, Florida, bald, old dude who put those bands together and then died in prison. Yeah, he put together NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, not Wonder. He put together the group that sang that Abercrombie. I like girls who wear Abercrombie and Fitch. I can't remember what they're called right now.
FAO?
Yep, exactly. So he put them together.
2000s girl.
And did he put? Is One Direction? One Direction's the Harry Styles like British band, right?
They were put together by Simon Cowell.
Yeah, not One Direction, but there was another one.
90 Degrees?
Yeah, maybe that one that he did.
Wow. He shaped a generation.
He did, yeah. 98 Degrees is old now.
They were around the same time as Backstreet Boys, though.
Yeah, actually, I don't think it wasn't them. Because I'm looking at them right now. Gosh, I can't. This is gonna. It was maybe O-Town. That's what it was.
Oh, O-Town. I remember they had a reality show to put together O-Town on MTV. That was interesting.
Yes, and I think that project, that Making the Band project, was a Lou Pearlman thing. Yep, their group was originally managed by Lou Pearlman during their first season of Making the Band, but later by other people. Yeah, that was Lou Pearlman documentary. It's either on HBO or Showtime, or maybe it's on just normal Amazon. But with Amazon these days, you get all that stuff.
How was it?
It's so good. And you really feel for Aaron Carter because he's still like, it's called The Boy Band Con, the Lou Pearlman Story, 2019. This came out.
Okay.
And it interviews all of them. It interviews like Lance Bass's mom is in it a lot, like different family members, and it really shows a lot of great footage from the 90s, just them coming up, them personally just talking about what their day-to-day experiences were like, how hard they worked, what their backgrounds were, how all those two boy bands, definitely each individual person sort of tells their individual story of how they ended up in NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
Really? They had all the people?
Yeah, they pretty much have all the people talking, and that's really interesting stuff just to hear how that was all put together. Mm-hmm. And Lou Pearlman's background of where he came from, like he used to be in the aviation business, and then that's how he made some money that he used to like invest in that. But I guess he's been doing shady deals like his whole life. Oh, he was in the hot air balloon. He was in the blimp business.
That sounds shady.
Yeah, he was in the blimp business, like Goodyear blimps.
He's full of
and
hot air.
he's full of hot air. But the Aaron Carter stuff, like Lou Pearlman, brought him under his wing, and Aaron was real young, and
Yeah.
Aaron still kind of defends him, like, I was just a little kid, and that guy changed my life, and it just sucks that this is how it is now. And Aaron's crying in the documentary, but he's kind of saying some stuff where you're like, yeah, maybe this guy was kind of molested by Lou Pearlman or something too, because there's some shady stuff in there where it seems that Lou Pearlman was like a closeted gay guy that was a little handsy with these dudes and
Oh,
did make
heck
them.
no.
Yeah, there's a lot. Watch the documentary. There's all kinds of shady shit going on. It's the same way that Michael Jackson would like have little boys do weird stuff at slumber parties, and it seems like innocent to the kids, but then looking back on it, you're like, oh, he had us play this weird shirtless game, and stuff like that. You're like, okay,
Yeah, and it's like even one group that I followed back in the day was called B2K.
Yeah.
And years later, it came out that like the manager who put together the group molested one of the people. At least we know one of the people. And they're just like, people don't want to come out and say that. Because he had one group before called Immature. And then they were talking about there was weird stuff like he'd make them all shower together and they're like teenage boys. And like he'd be there watching. And then for the B2K thing, it was like when you put the stuff together, it did seem real weird because like the members, like two of the members lived together, and then another, it was, how many members was it? It was 4 people in the group. Yeah, it was 4 people in the group, but like 2 of the members lived together. One of the members lived with 2 members from the other group, and then the 4th member lived with the manager. And it was just like, but they said that like, oh, that's his cousin. They're like, oh, he's his younger cousin. So we're like, oh, okay. But it was still kind of weird. Like, why does he live with the manager? Like, why isn't he living with his other members? But yeah, so he said like, yeah, he's been the guy who was with him because he was molesting him the whole time he was in the group. And it's just like, you gotta, and then like they talk about how the managers like take the kids from the mom, like, hey, I'm gonna make your son into a star. Like, just give me custody of your son, and you just sit back, and I'll take care of everything, and I'll make sure he gets famous. Mm-hmm. And parents are like, hey, my kid's gonna make money. Take my kid.
Right. Well, and parents are trusting in that way of like, well, not anymore, but in the previous generation, when we were kids growing up, I mean, parents were just trusting other adults, teachers and camp counselors and whatever.
Yeah.
And now you look back on it and you're like, huh, of course. And it sucks that somebody can't have just like an interest in having a boy band and like promoting that. Of course they have some sort of like shady ulterior like sex motive of putting together this group. And that totally sucks, but it just seems like wherever there's like some kind of smoke, there's fire. Like,
yeah, like
everything's always too good to be true.
And it's so sad because you would like to think, oh, he took interest and everyone, you're just doing it. We're all gonna make money because of course they are making money. But then it's like not only did he just make money off of them, but he took all of their money. Like he was supposed to get 10% or 20%, and the guys ended up getting 10%, and he got 90%. And it's like, what? But it's always a little shady.
Well, that's how these like. I was actually watching another great documentary this weekend about a different music mogul. There's one on it's on Showtime. It's about Suge Knight.
Oh.
And it just came out. It's way good. That one and the Lou Pearlman documentary. Both those are just you are glued. And the Suge Knight, he talks about Jerry Krause, I think. No, that's the Chicago Bulls guy, but was the manager of NWA.
Okay.
And they ended up firing him or whatever, or I think Eazy-E stayed with him and then ended up passing away. But this manager, what he did is not only did he like write himself in, just like Lou Pearlman did, he like wrote himself into the contracts as a member of the band. so that he was like getting equal to what they were in their cuts.
Wow.
Lou Pearlman did that too. Like Lou Pearlman's like was a member of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, but they also put a management commission on each of the members.
That's
So
crazy.
so he's taking his cut, then a portion of all of their cuts, and then not only that, like there's a whole other section which is just like a giant percentage that just goes to the management. You know.
So he's getting his cut as a member. He's getting 10% of all of theirs, and then off of the top, he's getting like 30%.
50, yeah, or maybe 50.
That is so crazy. And the thing is, these are young people who don't know what they're reading when they're looking over a contract. They're happy to have a deal, and they're excited that they might have a chance. And then when you're first getting started, if you're like, I don't know, man, they're like, oh, well, someone else can be a member of this group instead of you.
Right.
If you can't sign the contract today, I've got someone else who's going to take your spot. And you're like, oh no, this is my chance to get famous, which is like so messed up because all these groups happen to be 2K. They came out, they released all these platinum plaque albums, and at the end of it, they didn't have any money. They didn't have any money. And the houses that they were staying in were rented. They didn't own any of that. Their cars rented. So they had nothing was in their name, and they had nothing to stand for when the group fell apart. Same thing happened to TLC. They got away from their company because they looked up and they're like, we don't have any money. We're number one artists and we don't have any money.
Right.
It's like,
there's that classic clip of them at the Grammys where T-Boz is just like, we're broke. You know what I mean? She's saying it like right there. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Clip? It's incredible.
But it's like, at least at that point, they did get away from their management and their label because they're like, they realized while they were still hot, where they could still make more albums, that they were getting the short end of the stick. But it's like they're in these contracts where, yeah, for like 10 years, they're like, oh, you got to, anything you make for 10 years, I get a cut of.
Right. They put those crazy things like lifetime things in there and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, like even Kesha had all that stuff happened with Uncle Luke, and it's like this guy assaulted me, and they still like, oh well, he still gets a cut. Anything you make for the next couple years.
Right. Well, it just goes to show that you really got to be diligent and as an artist, read what you sign. Although it is hard, you're put in those positions. Like NSYNC was talking about the fact that they didn't even have, I mean, they should have tried to figure it out, but they were working all the time. Like they were in dance rehearsal all damn day. And then they were flying to the next show. And then they were in the studio. And then somebody was like, here, sign this. They didn't have time to even look at contracts. Like they were just exhausted, and they don't have lawyers or whatever. At that time, they were talking about how they had been like super famous already for like 2 years. And they didn't have any money. Like they'd already been on everything and selling out arenas and shit and number one. And they have like this big dinner with Lou, their manager. And they're like, oh, it's our big payday. He's finally going to give us some money. And he gives them each like a check for like 10 grand or like something crazy small like that. And they're like, oh, and that's when they were like, we got to get out of here. Because they were like, there's got to be millions and millions coming in.
That stuff like that is so, it's ridiculous. But the thing is, they keep the people busy because they're like, you're hot. You got to stay busy. Like you said, you got to go to dance rehearsal. You're flying to Taiwan next week. And no one is talking to them about, okay, you're doing this show, and the show is going to be, you're going to get paid $150,000
right
for the show. No one's telling them the numbers. They just know they're making money. I was watching a story. It was a smaller group. It was just like a guy and a girl, and they're producers, songwriter people, and they were making their own money. And they got taken by their manager. And mind you, these are small level people, but they saying how they had no clue how much they made for a show. And their manager was telling them they thought that they were even smaller than what they were. Because their manager would tell them like, oh yeah, you guys, it's really hard. You guys are making like $4,000 a show. And they're like, okay, well, that's pretty good. Coming to find out they were making like $15,000 a show. But they weren't over their own contracts. They were letting their manager handle everything. So they'd been with him for years, like 5 years, and the whole story was because they were suing him because he was giving them like 10% when in their contract he didn't even get them over in the contract. The contract was he was supposed to get 10%, but because the check went to him first and then he cut them a check and he was doing all the paperwork, they didn't even know that they weren't getting the 90%. Just like I say, if I become a famous musician or whatever, I need to see my own contract. Like if I'm doing a show, let me know how much I'm making. I don't want someone else to just tell me, like, oh, tonight you made $5,000. Like, let me see that in writing.
Right.
It's so sad because even Johnny Depp, this seasoned actor, been in the business all this time, you would think he knows his stuff. He's on top of it. But come to find out, his manager stole almost $1 billion from him.
Right.
Over $750,000, like almost all the money he made for Pirates of the Caribbean, his manager took it. And it's just gone. Just like, and he told him, oh, you didn't make that much.
Right. I know. Yeah. You see stories like that and you're just like, how? And you're just like, well, hope it doesn't happen to you. Yeah.
Because the thing is, if say like, okay, he thought he made $250 million. $250 million is a lot of money. You're like, he's like, I made a lot of money. I made $250 million for making like 5 movies. People are making $20 million for 1 movie. So if you can make 5 movies and make 250, you're like, I'm good. Little did he know he made over 750. Like, that's why it's like, show up to the meetings. Don't be too much of a superstar I can't go to the meetings. I'm just in there with people. I want to come to the meeting, especially if it's a big meeting. Like, I need to come to the meeting.
Well, people have substance abuse issues, they're too drunk or hungover. They do have the ability to pay other people to be there. So it makes sense.
Yeah. It is true. That is true. And you're like, I have people for things. I don't do things myself. And you want to say like, okay, maybe get like your mom, get like your family member to do it. But then like we look at Britney Spears with her conservatorship.
Right. Yep, exactly. There's another person too. Like her dad is it seems like screwing her over.
Yeah. And he's like, he just lost control of her investments. She just gained the right to control all of her own investments. It's just like, what? What the heck? And it's clear he just wants access to all of her money.
Right.
And the fact
she's a 40-year-old woman. She's my age. It's like she's not.
She's a mother.
She's
been married. She's been divorced. But she had one time period where she was a little unstable.
Right.
And she needed a little bit of help, and she hasn't been able to get that back yet. And even her little sister had partial ownership of her conservatorship until she stepped down. And it's just like all of you guys have your hands on the Britney pot, on the Britney pie.
Right.
Pieces.
Well, I have to pee really bad. And
okay.
we've been going for a while, and this has been great.
Yes, it's lovely. I've enjoyed myself.
Yes, I was trying to have us hit 2 hours, but I have to pee, and I can't hold it for another 20 minutes. So we're just going to end it now. Thanks, everyone.
It's fun. This has been great. Thank you. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe if you liked what you heard here today. And this has been episode 14, maybe 15 of Internet Anytime.